It gives me great happiness to introduce you today to our guest author, Mr. Amit Bansal, in our 71st author interaction under Trends Literature Series. I must introduce Amit. He is an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad and is a senior banker. He has written a spiritually inclined fiction, The Call of Mahadev. The Call of Mahadev, in fact, is a fiction which is based on the spiritual journey of the main protagonist, Raghu, and his spiritual ride to the sacred abode of Bhagwan Shiva, the Kailash Mansarovar. A book got initiated, in fact, as a bedtime story that he used to narrate to his kids, but definitely it was written and completed during the pandemic. And definitely will inspire all of us on a journey of inner transformation and spiritual experience. So welcome, Amit, on our forum, and congratulations on your very, very engaging and simply unputdownable book.
Namaskar. Thank you, Neetaji, for your kind introduction.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Amit, you have to tell us one thing which has been like there at the back of my mind since I started reading this book and I started knowing about you. You're a very successful banker and a postgraduate from a premium management institute. So how did you decide to write this book? And for the uninitiated, for the people who have not read this book, perhaps a little about the storyline.
Okay. So I'll just give a brief gist of the book. So it is about a person called Raghu, who is a very ardent devotee of Bhagwan Shiva. And during one of his meditation sessions, he gets a vision of Mount Kailash. And he interprets that as a call of Mahadev. And he decides to go on a pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. So between the decision and his actual, being able to start on the journey, also there are some obstacles, but he does start on that. And the rest of the book then chronicles his journey, the physical journey, and after a point, he reaches some roadblocks which he is not able to cross. And then how does sort of Mahadev and other people come to his aid, whether he's able to complete the journey, does he complete the journey in the traditional sense that we understand, or does he discover something deeper? Does he realize some spiritual truths? So this is what the book is about.
So yes, please go on.
Yeah. So how I came to write this book is partially because of my family background, where we've always my parents and extended family we've always had a very religious and a very traditional atmosphere at home, and we've been heavily into rituals and doing services at temples. So those sanskaras were, I think, already there inside, but sometime back they maybe started germinating, and I started engaging deeper in these pursuits. And that is when I started telling. Earlier, I used to tell stories to my kids, but over time, I started building in these elements in those stories as well. How I came to write this is, my daughter Mishti. She always encouraged me that, Dad, you are such a wonderful orator. Why don't you start putting them down? So maybe I got carried away with that praise, and I actually maybe took that seriously. So I started writing down a storybook for children, and this particular story was supposed to be a part of that anthology. But when I started writing this story down, it took on a life of its own. And
yes.
The book we have is completely different from that children's tale which I used to tell them. Apart from the name Raghu, and he rides a bike and he goes to Kailash, there's nothing similar between that children's story and the book we have. And even I was surprised at the twists and turns and the direction and the life that the book took on its own. But I guess there was somebody guiding me, or somebody sort of inspiring me. So I just put it down to grace of Bhagwan Shiva.
So right. I mean, I must tell everyone that you're a tremendous storyteller, in spite of the fact that you have had a very, very different background. But the kind of way you've woven this story together is definitely the art of a master storyteller, I must say.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
definitely a fast read. I finished it pretty early. I have to admit that I'm a very, very fast reader, but I don't think it'll take more than few hours if somebody gets to read it. Because there are so many twists and turns, as you mentioned, that one gets along, that one cannot really put this book down.
Thank you.
Amit, you say that dharma, meditation, bhakti, spirituality should be part of life's progress. So, and also the fact that you've had so many, other kind of spiritual background, and your family's been into, all kinds of spirituality and everything. So, do you foresee yourself sometime, maybe in future, as Raghu, the main fictional character, at maybe perhaps some stage of your life?
Not in this life, maybe a few lifetimes later, but that is, I think that's a subconscious desire I have, which sort of got reflected in the book as well. But
Yes.
I think it is still a few lifetimes away.
And it's very, very, I think, very, very difficult to achieve at times what Raghu went through, the kind of spiritual experience. I'm sure all of us would like to achieve that in our lives at one time or the other. But as you said, that perhaps it'll take few more years, few more births to go through what he went through. And I'm sure the readers and the viewers present today, and whoever will see the recording on the YouTube, must try to read this book, which is available on Amazon, Flipkart, Garuda website, and you have to find it for yourself what we are talking about. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra is the ultimate pilgrimage destination for Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, and so many other religions. Definitely, that's a spiritual epicenter. Devotees who worship Lord Shiva know the religious significance it holds and the relevance of its spiritual journey. The description in the book about Mount Kailasha, about Mansarovar, is so visual that one feels that perhaps you've been to all these places and are writing about it. I can understand in Raghu's case, it was a spiritual intervention. So how was it in your case? Because you've never visited these places, as I hear, and you've still written it so well in such minute details that it is very difficult to imagine that you've never been to either Kailasha or Mansarovar.
Yes, that is true. I have never been to Kailash Mansarovar, although I do hope to be there soon, as soon as God wills. But so on the physical journey, when he starts from his hometown Gorakhpur and he
Yes.
reaches the upper mountains. So that is actually, I researched on the routes over internet, and I got a fairly good idea of what the route and the timings would look like. So that was the easy part. On the description of the holy mountain and the lake, I have been through a lot of pictures and videos of the area, and that is how I got a hang of what that landscape would look like. And I've also spoken to a few people who've been there and gotten their descriptions as well.
Yeah, it is very well described, and it's a reader's delight to go through all the. You talked about the route. You've talked about, so one feels that perhaps one is actually taking the yatra and going to the pilgrimage. So you've mentioned a couple of characters in your book. So, but who's your favorite character? You are the writer, right? So what you really what really, and another question is, what really surprised you when you were writing this book about yourself, about the characters, about the storyline?
My favorite character, I think, has to be Raghu, because that is the most relatable of all characters. The other characters which he comes across are way more evolved and advanced. And they're really aspirational characters. While Raghu is somebody whom we can all easily relate to, his personality, as well as his ambition, as well as uh, you know the simple-minded devotion which he has. These are all fairly uh, relatable. The other characters like Swamiji, Kedarji, they belong to another plane, which is completely different from our mortal world. So Raghu is I think my favorite character. And what was the second part of your question?
It was that what really surprised you while you were writing this book about yourself, about how the kind of twists and turns it naturally, as you said in the beginning, progressed
Yes, yes.
itself. So,
No,
yeah.
while writing, I was, again surprised that how these inspirations are coming. And now when I read the book, I've probably read it more than 50 times. Or
Mm.
I still find something in the pages which still surprises me. Something which I may be reading again after a gap. I'm surprised that how could this sort of thought come to me, or how could I write to? Especially, I don't want to give any spoilers to the readers, uh, but but when he resumes the journey in a different manner,
Yeah. Yes.
then the experiences which he has, those were
They were
completely
surreal, totally. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, it was just taking its own path, the way his life was taking his own path.
Right.
Uh, Raghu's journey, coming to Raghu again, his journey spans lifetimes and goes through supernatural dimensions of space and time. So, what message do you have in the book for readers? And also, a pertinent question: Why do you think your book should be really read and people should read it? And what is it that they should really try to find in between the fictional story? It is, but it has much more than a story. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think a very simple message which I wanted to give is that spirituality and some sort of building a connection with the deities uh, has to be an integral part of our lives. In today's materialistic world, I think everything is getting commercialized, everything is getting monetized. There seems to be a price tag to everything. But uh, ultimately, I feel that a lot of people end up feeling a certain hollowness in their life, a certain sort of vacuum, and sooner or later, they end up realizing that commerce and money and economics and growth, this is, not the whole and soul of life. There has to be something more purposeful, more deeper than this. And the sooner we realize this, the better, because while it is never too late to start on this journey, but every second that we are not on this journey is time wasted. So imagine this as let's say we are supposed to climb a mountain, and the time we spend in spirituality and contemplating over a deeper purpose in life and trying to build a connection with the deities, that is the time we are actually sort of moving up the mountain towards some final goal. And every second that we are not doing this means either we are stagnant on that mountain, or we are actually sliding down if we are into sort of wrong pursuits. So that is the sort of visualization I would like to give the readers, that uh, our true purpose in life is a journey towards some final goal. What that goal is, could be different. Different scriptures have different goals. One of the goals which our scriptures espouse is moksha, where we sort of get a liberation from this cycle of life and death, and we are able to transcend the physical world and merge with the divine Parbrahm. So if we take that as a final goal, so it's a journey of several lifetimes, as the book also brings out. And I also personally believe that it's not something which can be achieved in a single lifetime. So it's a journey of several lifetimes, and the sooner we begin on it, the better. And the second thing is the time we are not doing it is actually time we are sort of sliding down that hill or actually moving away from it. So we'll have to, in some lifetime or the other, we'll have to actually double back and cover that ground again. So why not start now and start devoting some time to these pursuits as well?
So very well said, and I'm sure this book has so much of weight. even if it's a small book, but in between lines, you get to read so much about spiritual journey that we have or we are going to take and what the future has in store for us. And coming from you, you're such a senior banker, head of a private bank. And I think it has a lot of weight, I would say, for everyone. So what are your next plans? What are you planning to delve into? And is there any sequel that you're planning for this? Because I'm sure, at least me who's read the book, would like to know what happens to Raghu's, plan. Like he's taken the call of Mahadev, but then how does he really implement it later? And does he listen to his family, or does the family get to talk to him again about his future plans? So I'm sure a sequel you should definitely write. So what are your plans?
Okay, so actually, when I wrote the book, I did not have a sequel in mind at all, and I meant it to be a complete book in itself. And the ending was deliberately left open-ended, just for the reader to sort of delve upon and arrive at their own conclusions. But a lot of readers have actually requested, or rather given this feedback that a sequel is very much desired, and they would look forward to it. That what happens to Raghu, and exactly the questions, whether what happens, whether he gets married or not, and how does he proceed on his spiritual journey. So if I think if I get sustained feedback to that on that line, I will definitely think of a sequel. But right now, all my energies are focused on bringing the call of Mahadev to a much wider audience.
Yes, that it is definitely. The more people who are coming to know about it, they're definitely reading and writing reviews. I have a few questions which I got beforehand from the audience, and I'll request if anyone has the question, they can put it in the chat box. So Dia, will you like to take those 3 questions that we received, and perhaps we'll be able to take from chat as well later. Yes.
Hi. So I would just like to say it is enlightening to hear about the book and the fact that it tells us so much about exploring spiritual path. I mean, it's quite a journey. So the first question is from Kavya Kapoor. She asks, how do you feel that your book, which already has a different perspective on spirituality, will create new readers who are exploring the path of spirituality and want to know the process?
Yeah. So if we look at the existing literature available on spirituality, it is mostly on the non-fiction side. Where well-known spiritual figures or gurus of great gurus like Sri Ramana or Sri Aurobindo, Swami Vivekananda. We have literature from those people, and the new gurus which we have like Sadhguru or Sri Sri. And many more. So it's almost all non-fiction. There's excellent literature for spirituality, but it's non-fiction. So I found on the fiction side, spiritual fiction, there wasn't many books available in the market. What we have is mythological fiction, where the Amish Tripathi genre, where our mythological gods and goddesses, they become the characters in the story. But that is not how I was looking to present spirituality. I wanted to take ordinary common people like you and me and present an interesting story where it's of course interesting to read. At the same time, spiritual messages are woven into the story in a very subtle way, in a very non-preachy way, so that people are able to relate to them. Whatever messages I have given in the book, I have also tried to give some rational explanations on them, so that people are able to convince themselves that yes, these things make sense.
Makes sense. So the third question is from, so the second question is from Rishika Batra. She asks, how did you decide on different characters in your book? I mean, Kedar, Madhav, Swamiji, etc. Are they inspired by some real life characters?
Inspired by?
Some real life characters.
The characters are not directly inspired, but some of the concepts are inspired by real life spiritual people with whom I have interacted. a lot of questions which I used to have maybe 3 or 4 years back as a very beginner, as a beginner in spirituality. Those people answered those questions, and those answers I've tried to build into the book in the form of messages and concepts. Something like the simple fact that spirituality is a journey of several lifetimes. It's not a journey of one birth. I used to have this misconception that in this one birth maybe we'll achieve moksha. So I think that was one version which got dispelled very quickly by people who are really higher up on the spiritual plane, and that is what I've brought into the book as well.
So the third question is from Saroj Sehgal. She asked, do you believe, like some say, till the call does not come, you cannot take pilgrimage? Raghu could undertake the difficult journey to abode of Shiva because of the call in spite of encountering such difficulties.
I think it's a two-way process. If we just sit and think that some very direct or a very obvious call is going to come, it doesn't work that way. It has to be the call, actually the prayer or the request has to go from our side, and that is if it's a sincere prayer, it's a heartfelt prayer, it will reach the higher power, and that higher power will take note, and then of course he will call us. But I think effort has to go from our side. We cannot just sit on our in our houses and think that some divine, we are some special beings and some divine call is going to come to us. No. And actually, just to build up on that, that is what the story also suggests for those who've read that, if you see that 90% of the journey, Raghu has to make the effort on his own. Only for some bits where he gets stuck, that God comes to his aid, but the effort has to be of one's own self.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Diya. One more question which came to me was that how did you decide about the title of the book? Babita wanted to ask that.
If I tell you the original title of the when I started writing, it was called The Adventures of Biker Raghu.
Oh my God. It would have been a different perspective altogether.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that gives you some sense of what the actual story was. But as I said, when it took on a life of its own, I was thinking of a title, and some, Mahadev or Shiva had to be in title. So I thought of a few alternate titles like The Call of Mahadev and The Call of Shiva, or When Mahadev Calls. Then I took feedback of a few people and then decided on this one. And this one also was actually my favorite, but I just took feedback from a few other people as well.
Lovely. And one last question, it is from Ajay. And he says that, what is the message you'd like to give to maybe the new writers? You've been a busy professional, still you found out time writing. Perhaps it was because of pandemic, but how does one really find time to pursue one's passion of writing? How does one find time, decide the time to write? How does it go with you? Maybe you'll like to inspire others to write further.
No, the pandemic definitely helped, but to me it helped to a very small extent. Like I'm in the banking industry, and banking was never closed even in the pandemic times. The banks were open, so I was working entire time. I did not have a single day off, but I did have a few days of work from home, where I was able to sort of really press the accelerator. But discount, even if I discount that, what I believe is if you have a true passion, it will make time for itself. We all like to believe we are very busy, and I'm sure some of us really are very busy. But if we really introspect, we'll find that there are a lot of unproductive activities which use up our time. That is one. And second, there's the famous Murphy's Law that work expands to fill the time available. So if we have nothing else to do, we will, whatever work we have, we'll do that in that much time. If we have 2 hours, we'll do that work in 2 hours. If we have 5 hours, we'll do the same work in 5 hours. So when we find something additional to do, like in 5 hours, earlier we just had to finish some office project. But now if we think that, I want to do the office project and I want to write some pages of the book. So within that 5 hours, we end up managing both. Or we'll find some time on the weekend, or once in 10 or 15 days we'll find some time. And so if the passion is true, I think time is not a constraint. And for new authors, I myself am a new author. I don't think I'm the right person to give advice, but I can share how some of my learnings while writing this book. That it's easy to start off, but to take it to the finish, to complete the book requires a lot of willpower. You'll start off easily, you'll end up writing 15, 20, 50 pages, but then taking it to the finishing line requires dedication and commitment, because there were times when there were days at a stretch when I did not write a single word. But then I again pulled myself together, and then next 2 or 3 days I wrote a lot of pages. So we have to have the willpower to pull it through to the finishing line.
Fantastic, very inspiring words. I'm sure it'll, I've been also wanting to write for a long time. I'm sure I'll go as per your advice. We have Asha Dhaima. She's a political science educator. She would like to ask you a question. Asha, please. Asha, I hope she's able to switch on a video. Otherwise, she sent me her question.
Okay.
She says that Shiva, in a way, are you there?
Am
Asha?
I audible? Yes,
yes,
very much. I want to be able to switch on my video, but
No
yes,
problem.
definitely, I would want to speak to sir. Good
Yes.
evening, sir.
Yes, hi. Yeah, you can call me
Yeah.
Amit. That's fine.
Amit, okay. Amit, a very serious and very sensitive topic to touch upon, Shiva. His life has always intrigued me. He has lived a life, extreme lives. Like when he is in love to the most. And when he has completely detached himself from the world. Right. So somewhere I feel that he has missed finding the balance between the two extremes. So I haven't read your book yet, but is your character also falling in the same line of process, or he is also inspired by Shiva, call of Mahadeva? What kind of call is he getting? Is it inclining towards the detachment, or is it inclining towards the worldly life? Moho, Maya, Mamta, and all those human emotions. So, or is he dwindling between the two extremes? I would want to know this.
Okay. See, the question you've asked, it's a very deep question. It's a very, very deep question. And, it touches on an area which maybe I'm not fully competent to answer. But I will give you what my thoughts are on it as an individual. Although there are authorities with much greater knowledge and competence to talk on it. So your observation that Shiva displays emotional extremes as well, where when of course his wife Sati, what happens to her, and then the reaction he has. But if you see, that was the only display of extreme emotion which he did. Otherwise, his overarching personality is that of a yogi, of a yogi of the highest caliber, who is completely detached from this world. I think that is the side which makes up the dominant part of his personality. It was, of course, when Shakti was introduced into his life, he sort of accepted that. And the incident with Sati is probably the only extreme behavior he displayed. But once Parvati came into his life, he has, I believe he's displayed a very balanced behavior. You know, he's a very good family man. He loves his wife and children, and he's always displayed with his wife and children in popular iconography. So at the same time, he has not given up his tapas or his yoga. So I believe he displays the ideal balanced characteristics which all of us should aspire. That we have to balance the material world as well as the spiritual world. So that is my response on the first part. And second, coming to Raghu, Raghu does not display such emotional extremes, but he's a very focused individual, not so much into family life, and he's a bachelor and does not wish to get married. And but otherwise, he's a very balanced individual. He in all other senses he's sort of connected to, he has friends, he has his parents to look after, he enjoys eating out and stuff like that. At the same time, he has a very strong spiritual streak in him, which keeps getting stronger as his life progresses. So which is the result of his sanskaras of previous birth. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, definitely. And about my third question, what kind of call of Mahadeva it was? I would find the answer myself after reading the book, sir. It's okay.
Yeah, you can
I'll find that answer myself.
Yeah, but that answer is given fairly early in the book itself, in the first chapter itself. So I don't mind sort of hinting at it that he, while meditating one particular day, he gets a vision of Mount Kailash and Mansarovar Lake, and he interprets that as a call that he has to proceed on a pilgrimage to that place. So that is the call of Mahadev initially, but then as he progresses on the journey, he finds that that call has a much deeper meaning and a deeper context as well.
Right, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Amit. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. And as Jyoti says, it was a very, very appropriate question. Thank you, Amitji. Anything else that we missed out you'd like to talk about the book? You've given all of us fairly good idea about the book and inspired everyone to definitely read the book. Anything else you'd like to mention?
No, nothing particular. I think your questions and the reader questions were very insightful, actually. I'm happy that I got to talk of some of the aspects of the book. And maybe just one thing which is there on the first page itself, that Raghu lives in the town of Gorakhpur, which is a very unusual choice for placing the character in. But that's because I'm a huge fan of Gita Press, and I absolutely adore the service they've done to Sanatana Dharma since 1923. And it was my sort of little tribute to their amazing work and to their founders, Hanuman Prasadji and Goenkaji. To unko shat shat naman. So this was my small tribute to them to place the hero in Gorakhpur. And I really request all of you to buy Gita Press books and support them.
Thank you, Amitji, for taking out time from your busy schedule. It was really enlightening, and I'm sure everyone will definitely enjoy reading the book. And I have a giveaway to announce that as soon as the video of this YouTube is out, there are 3 giveaways which have been sponsored by Garuda Books, who are the publishers of this fantastic book. So have a go. So those who miss out will have to order. Otherwise, there are 3 books to be won on the video of this session, this wonderful 71st session that we had today. Thank you everyone for joining in, and do subscribe to our channel for all the episodes that we have done till now. You'll find them there, including today's. Thank you, Amitji, once again. Thank you, audience.
Thank you,
Thank you everyone for joining in.
Thank you to all the viewers who joined today and to the readers of the book.
Yes. And I think, Jyoti, you're writing, do you relate yourself with the main character of your book? He answered that in one of our questions. So you'll have to see the recording once again. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.